Germans will scrutinise every detail of our fallen man.
Where are his legs?
سكن يا حياتي شكم معان
Hello and welcome to this week's film show, where we're looking at the latest crop of new releases in the company of film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Olivia.
Now, we're starting with a film in cinemas here in France, headed to Netflix globally. Operation Mincemeat is directed by John Madden, who made Shakespeare in Love and The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. The film's title was a code name for an ingenious gamble that paid off during World War II. Tell us more about this account of a true story.
Well, you know, people often ask me if there's a kind of movie I prefer. And being a smart aleck, I usually say, yes, good ones. Operation Mincemeat is precisely the kind of movie I adore. Superb performances that bring to life an excellent script illuminating real-life heroism anchored in intellectual prowess or in less lofty language. Smart people do cool stuff and save tens of thousands of lives. In 1943, Allied forces were planning to land in Sicily, but in order to avoid getting mowed down by waiting Germans, they wanted to somehow convince Hitler that they were really planning to land in Greece. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you're the detail-oriented people working in the 20 committee brainstorming in a basement in London, you decide to have a dead British soldier's body wash up on shore in Spain with very official documents in his briefcase about plans to land in Greece.
Okay, well, how does one pull that off?
With considerable difficulty. All you have to do is secure an already dead body that can pass for having drowned, give him a name common enough to stymie the Germans when they go trying to verify his identity, and put just the right convincing things in his uniform pockets, from photos and love letters to that all-important wax-sealed letter. In a very nice coincidence, Ian Fleming, the future father of both James Bond and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, was one of the brainstormers. And there's a running joke about how everybody in England seems to be writing an espionage novel or has just published one.
It was a very productive time. Well, here's more from actor Matthew McFadden and a glimpse at some of those stiff upper lips in the service of their country.
Given the fascist notebook there, we could quite literally float the documents right into enemy hands.
Prime Minister, that's too big a risk. The fate of the world is at stake.
The plan is highly implausible. So when can it be ready?
When I read the story, I was amazed by by the ludicrousness of their idea and that it worked. I mean, it's sort of preposterous, isn't it? It's ingenious and mad.
The nightmare marching this way is only too real.
And the Spanish won't let the Germans anywhere near our briefcase. We are in the dark.
If the enemy is waiting for us on those beaches, history herself will avert her eyes from the slaughter.
I may vomit.
I may vomit with you.
I love counter-espionage and double and even triple agents. War is ugly and brutal and leads to heartbreak and loss, but at least in World War II, it also provided truly inspiring opportunities for good men and women to surpass themselves in the service of their country and the cause of freedom. The characters are multidimensional. Their private lives are a mess, yet together they manage to help save the world. There's sacrifice, but also dry humor and romance. Nobody dithers. Responsibilities are shouldered. Decisions are made. I admire everything about the people who inspired this movie, and if telling a good story about accomplishing so much with so little is old-fashioned, sign me up.
That's true. There was no room for dithering. That's certainly true of the era. Next to a film that got a helping hand from France, because the Cine Foundation programme run by the Cannes Film Festival was instrumental in the production of The Gravedigger's Wife. Now, the director is a Somali whose family emigrated from Africa to Finland when he was only 16 years old. Tell us more about this one.
Well, this bittersweet drama, it's a fable, really, was shot outside Somalia in Djibouti City, although, in fact, it is a Finland-Germany-France co-production, shot in striking settings in just 21 days. So we see hardworking Guled, a gravedigger who adores his wife Nasra, but she's a lithe beauty suffering from an infected kidney, very infected. The couple's savings from Guled's job as a gravedigger have already gone to pay for antibiotics, but Nasra's condition isn't improving. An operation may save her, but they'll have to pay for it, and it's really, really expensive. Guled and his shovel-toting colleagues loiter by the local local hospital and are crestfallen when a day goes by and nobody dies. There's an irony at the heart of this story. Guled must hope that others die in order to earn money to prevent his wife's death.
How extremely sad. Well, let's take a look at the striking and sometimes unforgiving terrain of the gravedigger's wife and hear a little from the director on showing a different vision of his country.
There has been so many films about Somalia from Western perspectives that were presented them as pirates, as radicals, as terrorists, and all this. So I just really wanted to show the humanity side of it, of the Somali community, and tell a story that every Somali person could relate to.
And if you look at the comments online, Somalis all over the world are rejoicing and saying, at last, a movie where the word Somali isn't automatically connected to the word pirate. This really does portray a matter of life and death, as in much of the world, being poor can kill you. But it's not a dour or depressing film. In one entertaining sequence, when her condition is sort of in flux, Nasra initiates a bold prank to crash a wedding involving a goat and whatever the Somali word is for chutzpah. It's not merely an amusing interlude. It provides insight into the couple's complicity, which has only deepened since they eloped together from the rural village where her future had been arranged without her input.
Wow, it sounds fascinating, and certainly a look at Somalia, like you say, that we don't often get. Now, to another war-depleted country, this time told via animation. My Sunny Mad, or Ma Famille Afghane, My Afghan Family in French, won the jury prize at the Annecy Animation Festival, and it comes from Czech animator Michaela Pavlatova, who adapted Freshta. This is a semi-autobiographical novel by a fellow Czech who fell in love with an Afghan while at university in Prague. So what happens next in this story?
Well, head over heels in love, Czech citizen Hera followed Afghani economist Nazir to Kabul, where they were married in 2000. Not the most opportune time for a white European woman with blonde hair to try and fit in Afghanistan, a country where, as the stylized animation deftly shows us, a woman is expected to leave the room if there are male guests. But at the same time, a VHS tape of Basic Instinct is a cherished item, so boys and men can roll it back and forth and watch the scene over and over where Sharon Stone's legs are crossed and uncrossed. It took 6 years to make the film, and the director could not have imagined that Afghanistan would be back under control of the Taliban after the withdrawal of U.S. troops last August. What's interesting here is that Hera, who willingly left her societal privileges behind to follow the man she loves, doesn't instantly condemn cultural differences the way many of us might, because she's living with them in the broader context of family life. When she can't conceive, an orphan, the mod of the title, comes into the couple's life.
Indeed, there's an important domestic dimension there as well. So let's take a look at a traditional society as seen by a wry outsider in My Sunny Mad. So this film explores important themes like ambivalence towards being so-called rescued by the West, the missteps, or the occasional missteps of international aid organisations, and of course the pressure on a cross-cultural couple.
Yes, and it does all that through, as you can see, very pleasing animation. The director is the head of the animation department at Prague's famous Film Academy, and I'd like to especially praise the musical score by Eugenie Galperin and Sasha Galperin, two incredibly talented brothers who live here in France and happen to be Russian.
Very accomplished indeed. Well, so far in this show, we've seen protagonists dealing with challenges in this universe. But of course, the Marvel movie franchise takes that to another level. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is currently on screens here in France after a premiere in Los Angeles this week, where director Sam Raimi discussed his foray into the horror genre. Let's hear from him.
When Kevin Feige announced Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness with our original director, Scott Derrickson, they said that this would be Marvel's first entry into the horror genre. So even though Scott left the movie and I came on, that mandate was still in place. So I thought it was a fun challenge. Great. Doctor Strange has always dealt with scary, spooky stuff, protecting our world and universe from magical forces. And it always had an element that was like, I'm spooked. So it's great to bring that into this picture.
So, Lisa, what do you make of the Marvel multiverse?
Well, until not that long ago, I actually thought multiverse referred to reading the work of several poets, one after the other, a little Baudelaire, a little Walt Whitman, some Sylvia Plath, some Ogden Nash. At the cinema, I have seen the trailer for this more times than I care to recall. So I've picked up that Doctor Strange, catchy name, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, also a catchy name, causes a sort of breach that wreaks havoc because now it's harder to protect these so-called dimensional barriers. Cumberbatch and co-star Elizabeth Olsen also apparently play multiple versions of their characters, so I'm happy to hear that these two prodigiously talented people have a lot to do. If you consult the Wikipedia entry for this and look at the release dates, it tells you May 2nd in Hollywood and May 6th in the United States. Now, I could have sworn that Hollywood is in the United States, but maybe everything is the multiverse, so I needn't be such a stickler about that.
Indeed, that's only in our universe. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us this week for that roundup. One thing we know for sure is that you can see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in France right now. We'll leave you with a preview. Otherwise, do check out our website for more movie news, and we're on social media too. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.
You break the rules. Look out! Become a hero. I do it, I become the enemy. That doesn't seem fair.
Strange!